What does back to school mean to parents who cannot afford to buy school uniform for their children? And what prompted the Competition Commission's investigation into school uniforms? Is the South African Democratic Teachers Union happy with the conditions in which teachers do their work? And what would make SATU deliver better results this academic year? What time is it? It's question time. Khotsong, Grula, Mraro, and welcome to the show. My name is Motshekga. Schools across the country reopened for the 2018 academic year today. On the sidelines of a walkabout at Hebron Technical School in the Northwest Province, Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga condemned the attack of a parent at Hoerskool Overvaal in Vereeniging. She says anyone unhappy about school policies need to raise their concerns through relevant channels. Meanwhile, school uniform continues to pose a challenge to parents and learners alike. The Competition Commission says its investigation into anti-competitive behaviour in the school uniform industry will be released soon. The probe was started in 2015 when school governing bodies noticed the emergence of stockists as direct and sole suppliers to schools at the beginning of each year, and this allowed them to determine prices and lock out other suppliers out. Most schools are said to be unaware of the guidelines for school uniforms issued by the department in 2015. But will there be consequences for all those who are found to be on the wrong side of the law? We are live, and we encourage you to call us. The number to dial is 089-110-4210. International number +27891104210, and our Twitter handle at QuestionTime24. And we also remind you that you can live stream us on our Facebook page, SABC News Online, and our YouTube channel, YouTube.com/SABC Digital News. My guest today, Mugwena Maluleka, is the General Secretary of the South African Democratic Teachers Union. That is SATU, and from our Hatfield studio, Sipho Ngwema is the Head of Communications at the Competition Commission. Let me welcome you both. Sipho, welcome to the show. A quick one, I'm told that you're not going to be with us for long. The report that the Competition Commission is currently working on, what does it entail in brief?
Thank you and good evening. We are doing an investigation, actually. We are not working on a report. We launched a formal investigation in January 2017. This is after we received complaints from parents who were complaining about having one school uniform supplier and schools forcing them to buy from that one particular supplier. And secondly, they were complaining about the fact that even these suppliers did not go through a fair tender process, and therefore they were subjected to one price, and they felt that these prices were too low, were too much, and therefore came to us to say, can we investigate? And secondly, there was another complaint from SMMEs or businesses who wanted to venture into the business of school uniform, and they were foreclosed because many of the businesses had exclusive contracts with schools, and therefore, and very many of them were very of a long duration, and therefore they could not enter into this sector. So we launched this investigation after we did an advocacy program since 2015, where we engaged and worked with the Department of Basic Education, which issued a circular that basically laid down the rules in terms of school uniform purchasing. But we discovered through a survey that we launched parallel with the investigation that very many of the schools claim that they never received this survey.
Now, what is going to happen in the event that indeed, as you're saying, that I'm sure people who, or institutions that approached you to say, can you please investigate this, they had grounds on which they were complaining. What happens in the event that indeed there's a lot of wrongdoing or acts that are against the law?
Yes, indeed. As I said, that there was this survey which basically said the bulk of this problem is between private schools and former Model C schools. In fact, more than around 30% of these schools was still at the exclusive contracts. They didn't go through a bidding process. They did not follow the prescripts of the circular from the Department of Basic Education, which said the uniform must be generic, it must be available as many suppliers as possible, and the contracts must be of limited duration, and people must be allowed, even special items on the uniform must be kept to a minimum. So what is going to happen is that the law gives us instruments to be able to effect them. One of them is to fine those we think that deserve to be fined in terms of the Competition Act, but also there are a number of other remedies that we can reach and direct schools or everyone involved in the school uniform industry to abide by. So we have the competition tribunal where we can prosecute many of these cases. However, that investigation has reached an advanced stage, and we are going to make an announcement once we have closed the investigation to say, now we have closed the investigation, this is what we have discovered, because there are very many of the schools. You must remember, we're talking about thousands of schools. So we'll make that announcement in terms of what we can do in terms of the law, what is available to us in terms of remedies.
So what happens to those parents who are being hit hard on the pocket in the meantime?
In the meantime, what is important is that parents must engage their schools. Parents must engage their governing bodies. First of all, ask them about the circular that was issued by the Department of Basic Education, which generally says, as I said earlier, that there are rules which they have to follow, but also they must force their schools to comply with the Competition Act, basically saying there must be a fair bidding process, there must be tenders, because when that happens, then they're exposed to better prices, because when people compete, they will compete on price, they will compete on quality, they will compete on many other things. So we are saying to parents, engage your schools, ask about these things, but we will then come with clearer and more definitive pronouncements when we come back, as I said, in a couple of weeks' time, when we make the announcements in terms of how far we had gone and what we are declaring going forward.
Thank you very much. We're taking a quick break. When we return, we'll continue our discussion. This question time, please don't go away.
We cross live, give updates and cover sport.
The observer missions, what are they saying?
It will be a very difficult announcement to make, to say whether these elections have been free and fair.
1 in every 100 people are diagnosed with arthritis daily. In an effort to raise awareness, a handful of elderly women, they took to the streets of Soweto to stretch their fight against the ailment.
Western Province upset the Sharks by 33 points to 21 to be crowned the 2017 Currie Cup champions at the Kings Park Stadium.
In Durban.
On time with weather every hour, all the time. For all news, stay tuned to AM News every Saturday and Sunday at 10:00 hours Central African Time.
Welcome back. You are still watching Question Time, and my guest, now joined in studio, Mgwena Maluleke, the General Secretary of the South African Democratic Teachers Union. And we perhaps, Sipho, if I may just give you a final shot here, parting shot. Where do parents raise these issues with you? Where are you available as the Competition Commission?
The Competition Commission's offices are in Sunnyside at the TTI campus. Our website is www.compcom.co.za, www.compcom.co.za, and we are also available on Facebook at Compcom. That is our name on Facebook, and people can be in contact with us. On our website you will find all the documents that we need, particularly if you need to complain, and then you can be in touch with us. We'll certainly get back to you in terms of what needs to be done. But everything is there and is very clear.
Spongwema, thank you very much for joining us there. Let me now get into SADU matters as well. Now, Nopal, thank you very much for joining us. As school reopens today, one of the main questions I was asking there is, what does SADU need to deliver better results for this year?
No, thanks for having us indeed. And yeah, we have got so many needs.
Okay.
Yeah, but there are those that are major that will make us to be able to deliver quality public education to our children. One of them is the issue of the provision of teachers in the classroom. The law in our country is very clear that the beginning of the year, first day, no learner must find himself or herself without a teacher in the classroom. And that has been a problem every year, and we think that must be attended to. So that's what we need, a teacher in front of each and every learner in our country. We need proper infrastructure that is conducive for learning, that will enable us to be able to work with our children and support those particular learners to learn. The environment is very, very important because it covers a whole lot of other things. Issues of discipline. Sometimes it's because of the environment that is not conducive, that it is not challenging the learners to learn, or really providing the teachers with an opportunity to be able to apply their collaborative inquiries with other teachers, allowing them to really cooperate and collaborate with the parents in order to be able to help that. So the environment must be able to enable us to do all those particular things. So it's important to do that. The physical infrastructure in our schools, where learners are overcrowded in our classroom, is not conducive for learning. So that is one of the environment that we need to be able to attend, in making sure that we have got fewer learners in terms of the law in our classrooms, not what I have seen today when I was visiting the school. A school that has got a capacity of 1,000, it has admitted 1,600. Clearly it is that the class size is going to be 70 by one teacher. And tomorrow I'm visiting Limpopo in one of my schools that I have adopted. It has always been having about 115 children in grade 9 in one class. And clearly that is not helping. That is not going to be assisting the teacher and the learners to learn. So if we can be able to move faster in terms of providing this particular infrastructure, we'll be able to do our work. But we need support from the government, from the Department of Education, to all our teachers in terms of teacher training, in terms of teacher development. It's a very big topic around teacher development, which we would want to really challenge our employers, because we think that they don't understand that 40% of the time of the MEC or the minister must be allocated for teacher development in terms of human resource development, and the other time can be allocated to anything else, because for education to take place, you need a teacher in the classroom. Now,
you see, some parents out there may just think, well, SADU, we only hear about them when they are about to strike or when they are on strike. The role of parents in ensuring that yourselves, as the knowledge imparters, if there's anything like that, or rather people who impart the knowledge to the learners, are as well supported by the parents themselves. That's something where I know that you're lacking.
Yes, majority of our schools, we have parents that have walked away from this, from education. And there's a history to that, clearly. It is that when the apartheid government took schools from the community and made them state schools, that was the day when parents did not have a role in education. Theirs was just to send the children to school and wait for the report. Now, when we came in 1994 and said, no, we want to make sure that the schools go back to be public schools, it is a struggle to bring the parents back to participate in education. And it's one of the most important contributors to learning and teaching, if the parents are participating actively in that, because it deals with discipline, but also it deals with the support for the teachers, because they need the parents there.
Let's take Bulelan. Bulelan, you're in the Eastern Cape. Welcome.
I'm Paul, and good day and good afternoon to your guest as well. I wanted to say to perhaps try and advise that the investigation is quite good, but we must broaden it to other professional services. I mean, there are lawyers that are appointed by these schools. There are accountants that are appointed by these schools, and they never go through the process of a fair selection that is competitive, that is transparent, and otherwise.
Yes.
There are also artisans, like maintenance of the school.
Yes, service providers.
Extension of the school. It also doesn't go through. You find that it's the same person that was doing, or the same company that was doing about 10 years ago. If it rotates amongst the three legal firms in town, maybe in East London or in Queenstown or something like that.
Yes.
If it rotates about three building companies as well. So we must not limit it to just uniform, school uniform. Okay. There are other services that must also be investigated.
Thanks very much, Bulelani. Thank you very much indeed. A good point there. How much of this affects the provision of of teaching services? Some of this peripheral issues, procurement issues, and all that.
They do affect the learning. Precisely because if the principal is going to be concentrating on how to procure and without clarity and without support from the Department of Education of the circuit or the district, clearly that is going to spend a lot of time on dealing with that, clearly with other teachers who have got to participate in the procurement of those things. But we think that the training that should be given to the principal, but also to the support staff in the schools, and majority of our schools do not have the support staff because that is their role. The support staff have got to ensure that the principal is supported in terms of whether it's a tender that has to go out, it has got to be specific, and then it has got to be legally checked by the department, so that then we don't have this dispute and these complaints that end up having a situation where the community chases the principal away because there is accusation of the fact that he favors this one and not that other one. Sometimes it is true, sometimes it's not true, but at the end of the day, who suffers? Children suffer because those who are supposed to be managing the school, those who are supposed to be supporting the schools, find themselves all the time bickering amongst themselves instead of focusing on the core of teaching.
I want to get it from you as Satu. There are some schools that, in as far as matric results are concerned, produced 0 pass rate. How do we continue? Why do we need you then?
Well, if a school produces 0% in terms of that, it's quite disappointing. It is regrettable. And as SADU honestly would want to go into an inquiry that would then say to us exactly what has happened. And in some of the schools that have got 0% or less than 20%, we found that these are the schools that have got 1 teacher or 3 teacher schools. And clearly it is that there are 8 subjects to be taught, to be learned by our children. And therefore the school has got 2-3 teachers. Not all teachers can teach mathematics, physical science or accounting, and therefore these children don't have the teachers. And that's reason number 1. They are not being taught because there are no teachers. And therefore they pass 1 subject because the teacher is there, but they don't pass 7 subjects, therefore they get 0%. This is one of the reasons that we find there. There was a norm that was agreed upon that in each and every secondary school which has got fewer learners, give them 8 teachers, at least as a minimum, so that each and every subject has a teacher. That has not been adhered to, and that's why you find that in majority, especially in the rural provinces, they have 0%.
Chipa, you are in the Free State. Welcome.
Hello, Mpo. I'm having a problem here in the Free State because we are having overcrowding in our school here in Tennyson. That is why we cannot even produce good results. Why? Because we've got only 1 secondary school in Tennyson out of 5 primaries in Tennyson. How can that be possible for a teacher to teach more or less 50 learners in a class?
So, 1 high school which is being fed by 5
primaries, and we've got only 1 high school in town, whereby now they said they just take only a few letters, maybe up to 400 or 600, whereby now the school that I'm teaching now supposed to take plus or minus 1,100, but now we are having 1,400 to 1,600, whereas teachers are not there. We've got mobile classes, of which is becoming hot. Learners, after they've got their food, they come to sleep and they are sleeping, you know. That is why I'm saying you can't have a proper report in as far as tuition is concerned.
That is
maybe if SADU in the Free State or the Department of Education in the Free State can just come to Tinizen and build another secondary school. So that now if the learners from these primaries can be transferred to a secondary which will be built at which is new, and the other one, and then go to another secondary which is in town, then maybe the things will be all right in the Free State.
Thanks very much, Ndatichipa. Well, I think it's not common, but it's something that is there.
Yes, it's there. It's what I have said at the beginning and what I have experienced today, that mobile classes are not conducive for learning. They should be used to the minimum. And not for the entire. If it is about 2 months, whilst there's a provision for a proper classroom that we can tolerate, but the heat there, with this heat wave, clearly it is health hazard for our teachers and our children. But critically, as he said, if we can have enough teachers to be able to teach as per the law, if the law says that we must have 35 learners in secondary schools, whilst we are fighting for the reduction of that, at least let it be 35 in secondary schools and let it be 40 in the primary school, whilst we are negotiating to lower the class sizes to 28 so that we are then able to give individual attention. But if you have 80 or 50 learners in the classroom, it is no longer education. You are keeping the children there for the day. So it is just a four-wall room for the children to play.
Now, who keeps you in check as teachers? Because I know you're opposed to the inspectors, but how do we make sure that these teachers are delivering what they are supposed to? Because in other instances, the SGBs are non-functional, where they are fighting for re-election and all that.
Yeah. The first thing that must happen is that it must be from me as a teacher and from the principal that, look, we are professionals. And being professionals, our duty is to care for our children. Our duty is to ensure that we give the children the best and quality education. Yeah. That's the first supervisor. It's yourself and your management. And then clearly it is that in this country we have what they call Deputy Chief Education Specialists. These are the people that have been empowered, that have been provided with vehicles to visit schools, to talk to the teachers. They are subject advisors who also are working with the teachers in terms of the curriculum coverage and curriculum understanding, and also do some workshops to make sure that the teachers understand. So there is a whole school evaluation that also keep us in check to ensure that we do what we're supposed to be doing. We also have quality management system that is in place to ensure that the principal and deputy principals of the school do evaluate and coordinate that particular process to ensure that it's developmental in nature so that it is empowering for the teachers. So yes, we were opposed to the school inspectors because they were not professionally trained to deal with education. They were police. So in a professional environment, you need a professional code, you need a professional conduct, which is something that is not outside. It's within you. It is the passion you have as a teacher to really monitor yourself.
But in the event that they are not delivering, what happens? Because you don't want teachers to be fired.
No. That is a perception and needs to be corrected. The law in this country empowers the employer to charge and discipline any other employee, and it says it's a right. That's very beautiful because it says the right to charge and discipline your employee. The employee only has a right to be represented. That's what we are doing. We are representing, and then if you have checked what SACE has done, they always publish how many teachers have been dismissed. We are not happy about that because yes, there are teachers that are behaving unprofessionally, and therefore they must be disciplined. But there are others that are minor cases. They find themselves in a situation where we lose good teachers. The issue for me has always been that let us ensure that when we join, all of us are behaving professional, we do our work, and therefore if there are disciplinary issues that have got to be dealt with, they must be dealt with speedily, and therefore they must be corrective. And then SADTU will never stand on the way of the employer to exercise their right to charge the teachers. You need to discipline them. There's no way you can work without discipline.
Are there enough teachers?
We do have teachers, but not enough because of particular subjects. For example, we don't have enough teachers in physical science, we don't have enough teachers in accounting, we don't have teachers in language teaching in particular, and mathematics. So we have enough teachers in other areas of specialty. So
how do we resolve that? Because I think that's what accounts for this influx of learners into, you know, your former whatever areas, or even unregistered schools here in the CBDs?
Yes, the fly-by-nights are catching on our parents, and therefore they need to be warned that some of them are not registered. So what we need to do is that colleges of education must be reopened, and so that we can do proper training, balancing pedagogy as well as subject content. Universities are doing their best, but they are not producing what we want.
Thank you very much, SADTU General Secretary. Then that was question time for today. Big thank you to my guests and to you for watching the show from me and the entire crew. You have yourself a wonderful time. Hi, Bachot.